Machine learning. That is the buzzword recently. Machine learning, large language models, artificial intelligence, and Apple's no different. They're going to hit on those buzzwords, going to hit on everything everyone wants to see, and that is the sneaky upgrade, I think, of the S9 chip into the Apple Watch Series 9 and the Apple Watch Ultra 2 that has me incredibly interested, whereas if you saw my video of the last year releases, I just wasn't. I didn't see any major improvements, but I think this introduction of this S9 chip with the 4 increased cores and this new neural engine to do more client-side calculations is very interesting for the future of precision and for analyzing data on the client side, on the watch, and improving accuracy of just everything that you want to see when you're using a wearable. And that's what this channel is how can we get more precise, more accurate? And that's always going to be a problem unless you can improve the calculations and the algorithms. And I think as far as analyzing all the different patents and technology of Apple, they've done a much better job of their algorithms because they have very focused algorithms like how can I improve the accuracy of yoga? How can I improve the accuracy on a treadmill? And as far as wearables go, without having some sort of external ECG device that you want to wear, they've had the best heart rate monitoring that has been proven through multiple peer-reviewed studies and published. So when they're able to introduce something incredibly interesting as far as like this double tap feature, and that has apparently, I guess, based on their keynote, is only possible with this new neural engine on the S9 chip, where you can use your index finger and your thumb, double tap, and it'll do some sort of function on the watch. And it's recognized using the data from the gyroscope, the accelerometer, and the optical sensing to know that you're intently doing this double tap feature. So what else can it do? Again, this is all client side now, whereas prior it would do calculations more in the cloud and then go back to your device and be able to interpret data. So the more you can do client side, the more accurate it can become is going to be, again, it's just very interesting for what the future holds. Now, with this new neural engine and this new machine learning ability, you're able to use Siri now to start, stop, log health metrics, do a bunch of interesting things that you otherwise couldn't do. Now, with the addition of the double tap and Siri, it's going to be much better. Like one thing I will say just flat out, if you got sweaty hands and you try to tap your watch, you try to initiate any sort of action, it becomes a problem. Sometimes it doesn't recognize it. And, it's not that big of a deal as far as being like, oh, this is such a great innovation. But, anything to remove an annoyance is a super positive thing. Now, besides the S9 chip, other things, big focus on environmental concerns and going to net neutrality. So a whole new slew of Apple Watch bands being recycled and whatnot, whether you care about that or not. That's something they announced, but a big focus on it. And the increase of brightness, it's kind of this weird hand-me-down thing. So the Apple Watch Ultra 2 gets additional 1,000 nits of brightness to 3,000. Apple Watch Series 9 goes to 2,000. So these are now the most brightest displays ever, which I would assume affects battery life. So with the introduction of this new neural engine, perhaps being more efficient, they're able to increase the battery life because I think we're just at a form factor for the Apple Watch where we're just going to be stuck, because if you increase the battery, it's going to increase heat, and then thermal dissipation is going to be a problem. So unless you actually continually increase the form factor and the size of the Apple Watch, you're not going to get much more battery life in there. They still need to come up with some sort of way on the wrist charging, much like the Whoop strap, but it just depends. I mean, it's the same battery life, 36 hours, 72 hours on low power mode, but who is going to use that? Because the purpose of getting an Apple Watch is to get all the notifications and all the thrills and frills that you get with an Apple Watch. Now, the last thing, Bluetooth connectivity for external devices. But again, going back to this S9 chip, I'm curious how through this machine learning client side, the different algorithms they can input that perhaps weren't available or able to calculate on the prior silicon, how that's going to be different. And again, that's the biggest differentiation right now with Apple, where maybe surface level we're not seeing the big splash and the big innovations, but underlying through the architecture of their Apple silicon, which is going to be so different than all the competitors, perhaps they're just going to make those incremental increases, and then before you know it, looking back in a 5-year span, you're going to be like, wow, they actually got something where it's just so much better than other wearables on the market. So last year, wasn't interested. This year, I will be buying the Apple Watch Ultra 2 to utilize, test out for my training, and just get more firsthand experience. So subscribe to the channel to see that. I'll be digging into more of the research, understanding more about this S9 chip, and then future different iterations and improvements of fitness through this device.